is Bournemouth against Tottenham at the Vitality, and it's a game that I'm actually going into really worried, and that's probably a good thing for Tottenham because every time I go into a game overly worried, we seem to come out the other end with 3 points.
Yeah, it makes sense because after we win a game, right, you're confident, that's it, and then the next time we inevitably lose, and after we lose, you're like, oh God, we're rubbish, we're not going to win another game, and then you're predicting us to lose or draw, and then the next game we usually win. So that's just the nature of how Tottenham have been this season, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think when you're looking at the Spurs team, there probably will be a few changes. I think Ange was talking about Dom Solanke saying he's not 100%, but I do think he will play because he is training. If you bring up the injury graph, this is the injuries that we've got going into it. So Van de Ven, Romero, Richarlison, Odegaard, Vicario, Mikey Moore, Bentancur out suspended, and Dom Solanke is a doubt. I do think Dom will play.
He said he's not 100%, but he said he's much better than he has been, and he said he's set to train today. So I think on that basis, he's probably going to be all right for tomorrow.
Yeah, with Romero's an interesting one because we all thought he was going to be back after the international break. It seems to be getting delayed. I assume he's going to be back in for Chelsea, but I don't know.
Well, not necessarily, because he said Ange, that he's going to have rehab hopefully today with a view of hopefully, he said, being in training on Friday, but he said worst case scenario he's back training at the beginning of next week. So that tells me there's a good chance he probably won't play Chelsea as well at that stage, I would say, unless he is training on Friday. But if he's not, he said he's already basically planning for the chance that he's not going to be training until Monday. So looks like not guaranteed for Romero either.
Yeah, which is a worry. But you also look at the players that didn't play on the weekend. So Kulusevski should be back in the team as well, which will, if we do have Kulusevski and Big Dom back in the side, that gives us that real aggression. And also these guys have had a bit of a break as well. So hopefully you'll see
it's physicality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We lost a lot of that on the weekend, and I think it was a massive miss to the team because the way Ange wants to play, pressing high from the front, a very physical team. When you lose your two most physical players and the two biggest fighters in the team, you just lose that massive element, don't you?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it as well, similar to Fulham, Bournemouth are very direct. And in fact, they do play in a similar way. They got Kirkes bombing down that left-hand side. They've got good forward players who are very direct. They're not a team who concentrate on possession. They're not a team who like to keep possession too much. They are very direct and they like to go forward very quickly. And as soon as they get the ball, they spring on you, and they've done that to good effect against some good teams at Vitality this season. And one crucial element to trying to stem that tide is having players like Dom and Deki, where when you give the ball to them in defeat, they can actually hold players off and keep possession and sustain attacks and actually get round opposition players. And I felt like on Sunday when we played Fulham, every time we gave the ball to the front three, it was just bouncing off them, and it led to Fulham continuously springing on us and being direct against us, and the ball just kept going in the other direction. If we have Dom and Deki there, once we give it to them, they can actually keep hold of the ball and allow us to build some sort of momentum against oppositions. And that is what I'm hoping for tomorrow night. Now, Bournemouth are a very, very aggressive team. When we're trying to build up from the back, they're not going to give us any time. Obviously, with the likes of Dragshin and Davis. Look, Davis has been good with his passing, and Dragshin may be a bit better, but they're not as comfortable as the likes of Romero, I feel, and maybe in Van de Ven as well. So I don't think Fulham were as aggressive as Bournemouth are going to be. Bournemouth are very, very aggressive side out of possession. So that is going to be a big, big challenge, how we cope with that. And because if we don't, if we're making mistakes at the back and we're giving the ball away in dangerous positions, they're going to be primed to take advantage of that.
Yeah, but when you talk about maybe like pure defending, I feel like Dragishin on a whole and Davis on a whole has probably been, like, at pure defending, I'm not talking about building up from the back or anything like that, has probably been better than Romero and Van de Ven.
Yeah, it's true, but in a weird way, I'm not trying to downplay it. They've definitely been better when it comes into the box, but when it comes to, like, say, defending on the halfway line and things like that, I still don't think they're as good as like Van de Ven or Romero are in those positions. I don't think they're as brave, and I don't think they're as kind of
I think Davis has been pretty big. The way he kind of nicks him in front of oppositions and he start attacks from those situations.
Apart from the one against Villa, it's all been kind of around our own box, and that's fine. But the way and also that's been fine for the likes of the City game, and we needed him to do that because City obviously were going to have a lot of possession, and we were going to defend around our own box a lot more than we want to. In this kind of game, maybe we will. Maybe we'll treat it like we did against City, and you know, drop a bit deeper and be forced backwards. But I know, knowing Ange, he's going to want to assert himself on the game. I still think we're missing that element of when we're on the halfway line. I feel like when we had Romero and Van de Ven, we're much better at just winning the ball back a lot quicker in those areas on the halfway line, and that allows us to keep sustaining momentum against oppositions and attacks, and it allows us to suffocate oppositions. Now, when we've got Dragusin and Davis, when the opposition get into the penalty area, they've been a lot better at defending, but they've been getting to the penalty area, I feel like, more than when it's been Romero and Van de Ven. And I feel like Romero and Van de Ven are definitely better at stopping those attacks at source, if you know what I mean, rather than Dragusin and Davis. So as much as Dragusin and Davis have done well, this isn't a criticism of them. I feel like I still feel like people underestimate how much we're missing Romero and Van de Ven, even though Dragusin and Davis have stepped in and done well.
When you're looking at Big Fraser, obviously he's done really well since stepping in, but this is his biggest test since taking the
Fulham.
Since taking the number one spot. I think this is his biggest test, because you look at the ability of these Bournemouth players to get in behind. You saw on the weekend against Fulham, you know, Evan Nilsson kept getting in behind. He got 2 penalties, you know, on his own, brought down by Jose Sarr. And, you know, Fraser Forster is going to have to be on his A game to really shut these Bournemouth players out.
For me, what I'm most worried about him in this specific game is the playing out the back. I know I've said before that I'm not too worried about it in general, but in this specific game,
he's so aggressive. Evan Nilsson.
Bournemouth, Evan Nilsson in particular, but Bournemouth in general, very, very aggressive team. Once he gets the ball, I've got no doubt that they're going to use Forster picking the ball up as a pressing trigger to really go all out at Tottenham and really go man for man, go super high, and especially as well pressing Forster himself. Now against Fulham, that wasn't too much of an issue. I felt like when he had the ball, he had a bit of time to kind of just play it simple. I know even then he made a mistake, but Fulham in general a bit not smarter, but they are a bit more of a mid-block team. They're not going to be pressing right up until the front line too much. Anyway, they pick their moments, but Bournemouth are relentless in that pressing. They completely go for you. That's exactly how Iraola kind of coaches him to be. And Forster, what we know when he's not got time on the ball, when he's being rushed into things, is he quick enough with his feet? Is he able to not panic when in those situations? He has already this season, when he's had the ball at his feet, made a couple of mistakes, especially against Coventry and against Fulham in those situations. So that element, I am kind of worried, to be honest. Also, as you say, when Evan Nilsson gets in behind, Vicario you trust to be very quick off his line and clear that situation, or you have Van de Ven, you know, going stride for stride. We're not going to have Van de Ven or Vicario. We're going to have Forster and Dragusin and Davis. So it's going to be more about, can we make sure that we're being as aggressive as Bournemouth when it comes to making sure that their midfielders don't have time on the ball to play those passes in behind. If we can do that, we can stop maybe that threat of Evan Nilsson running in behind. But if we are off our game like we maybe have been, especially against Fulham, then it's going to be a lot more difficult to maybe stop those chances.
If you look at this is the lineup that they played against Wolves. Evan Nilsson up top, Brooks on the right, which will probably be swapped for Semenyo, who was out suspended, who's been probably the standout performer for them this season, so he's back. Justin Kluivert, who just broke a Premier League record for 3 penalties in a game, which is unbelievable. That hasn't been done before in the Premier League era. Marcus Tavernier on the left, who I think is a really good player as well. He always seems to has the ability to wriggle away and get those shots away. Ryan Christie, Tyler Adams in the middle, who are 2 very aggressive players as well. I mean, you just look at that front line with Evan Nilsson, Kluivert, Semenyo, Tavernier, Christie and Tyler Adams. I mean, every single one of those players are really aggressive, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, that is how Iraola has built his team, to be very aggressive. And I think you go look at the average positions, you can get it back up. You can see they do get quite high up, and even against the likes of, I think, City it was, they get quite close to the opposition. Maybe it wasn't. Well, look how high the fullbacks are. You can see there. You can see Evan Nilsson. This is more how much they pick up the ball. I guess it's not too much from out of play, but they do press really aggressively. And so I think Semenyo is up there for forward to. With defensive contributions. We've seen that work ethic Evan Nilsson puts in. Tavernier's got a sweet left foot as well. He's one. Cliver has, I think, this season really stepping up, I think, for Bournemouth. I think last season he even was quite good as well. He was also a player where people were unsure whether he was ever, he didn't do too well at Roma after doing well at Ajax, and he'd been at Nice, and he's been at a few clubs. And he kind of came to Bournemouth as kind of a bit of a journeyman at that point. You're thinking, is he going to live up to that hype he had at Ajax? But he seems to be doing really well, to be honest.
5 goals, 2 assists. However, 3 of those were penalties in the last game.
Yeah, but fine. I think last season maybe he was doing a bit better, but I think he's showing he's got quite good enough to play in the Premier League.
He impacts games though. Even if he doesn't get those goal contributions, he impacts games. Yeah,
he's good with the ball at his feet. He's a good dribbler. He's got quality, that's for sure. He can also play on the wing. He can play inside. So and also if things aren't working, they got a really good plan B with Unal, who comes off the bench, big physical striker, big aerial ability. So even when things aren't working, I think he's come on and maybe got a goal or 2 off the bench as well this season. So he's been someone who to worry about. I think if I'm looking at weaknesses, I think Kirkes is unbelievable going forward. I don't think he's the best defensively. It's one of those things where I think Brennan John, if we do play Brennan, he should be looking at that back post and thinking there should be opportunities there, because Kirkes loves to go forward. He's unbelievable going forward, by the way. Against Man City, absolutely destroyed them down that left-hand side. And if we are going to start Porro, which I probably think we will, that's got to be a worry, because
we should not start Pedro Porro in this game,
because Kirkes is he's so good on the outside, and I don't know who they're going to play on the left. Who did they play on the left last game? Was it Utara?
No, Tavernier
on the left. So again, it's a question whether we play Decky on the right. Well, Semenyo is probably going to play.
Semenyo on the right and
Semenyo on the left, on the right. Okay, so maybe. Yeah. So Semenyo on the right. Sorry, yeah, that would be down Porro's side. No, it wouldn't.
No, it'd be down the doggy side.
That'd be so Kirkes on the left. Yeah, I'm trying to get myself confused. That'd be down the doggy side. So Kirkes and Tavernier down that side. I can see Porro having a similar issue as he had against Fulham.
Exactly. You've got Anthony Robinson and Kirkes.
Unless we play Decky potentially, who can have that running power to get him to help him out.
I just think it'll be a big mistake to play Porro in this game. Not because I don't think Porro on a normal day can stand up to the challenge. I just feel like he's just been looking so leggy in these last couple of games, and he's been destroyed in both these Roma games and both and Fulham games. And now he's coming up against another fullback that's full of running and attacking enthusiasm. We need to just freshen it up in that position. We have to play Spence.
What did you think of Ange's comments on Spence?
I thought it was a bit strange, to be honest.
Press conference. Let me try and get them. Do I have them here? Let me see if I can get them up.
You put them in the WhatsApp group, didn't you?
Yeah. One sec. He said. Let me just get up these quotes from Spence, and I'll read them. He says, on not playing Spence... Sorry, Postecoglou about Spence not playing after seeming to turn his career around. He says, I don't know about a major turnaround. I think a major turnaround is Jed playing regularly at this level. Just because he has hung around doesn't mean that is a major turnaround. I still think a lot of that is Jed continuing to train hard and wait for his opportunity. Fitness-wise, he's always in good condition. We train pretty hard. Could he start a game? I think he could. He could. Could he start multiple games? Probably not, because he hasn't played for a while. He has been in and around the squad, particularly between now and Christmas. Opportunities may come up for him. He almost got on the weekend, but the red card changed things a bit. I think the key for Jed is he's still training well. His focus is there, and just to be ready to take the opportunity when it comes. Now, for a player that's signed a new contract recently, and we've decided to keep, it's not like a ringing endorsement, is it? I would say.
No, and it feels like whenever Ange has spoken about him before, has been a bit of endorsement on Spence's name. It feels like he was just about getting a few chances here and there, and then he got injured, and now he's come back. And I know he was about to come on the weekend, but he hasn't. I don't think he saw 1 minute, didn't he, last month, with a minute against Manchester City. And I think every time he's played, I think he's been really good. I can't fault him from whenever I've seen him on the pitch. So it's a bit very strange to me. Maybe he's just trying to keep the opposition second guessing, and he is going to start him and he is going to give him a few more minutes. But he did say he's going to get an opportunity in this period now when the games
now and Christmas.
Yeah. So I mean, tomorrow is the best chance to give him an opportunity with the way Porro's looking at the moment. It really is. We have to play him. We can't keep playing Spence every single game, and you probably want to see Porro get a rest and come back in for the Chelsea game. So why not play Spence tomorrow? It just makes no sense to me if we don't.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Maybe Andrew will argue the 5-day rest period is enough recovery for Porro to come back in, but then would he be able to play this game and then the game on Sunday as well? But you could also, from Andrew's point of view, maybe he's thinking, can you look too far ahead? We need to win games now, and I can't not play Porro if I think he's the best option for this game.
But is playing Porro giving us the best option to win games at the moment with the way he's playing at the moment?
Look, he had a very good game against Man City, and he's had 2 poor games. Doesn't mean... Yeah, I guess you could argue... Look, definitely against Fulham he struggled, and against Roma wasn't a good game as well. Game before that is against City. Just because he had 2 poor games doesn't mean he'll have a poor game in this one. He's had 5 days recovery, and maybe Ange feels like that's enough. If it's not enough, he shouldn't play him. If he feels like it is enough, then I don't blame him for playing him. But the reality is, I would play Spence just because he's part of the squad. So you've given him a contract. You made him part of the squad. He's our backup fullback. And this is a period where we need our backups to come in and contribute. I wouldn't drop... If Porro had an unbelievable game against Fulham, that wouldn't hold any bearing on what I'm saying. I think it's more about us managing the squad and using the squad, more about Porro's form. I think it's about using the squad available to you and using the players that you've chosen to be part of the squad. And you've given Spence a contract. You've decided that he shouldn't be sold or loaned out. So he's your backup fullback. So play him. Play him when we have a lot of games. And right now we have a lot of games. And we've got a very big game against Chelsea on Sunday, which we need to be our absolute best for. And we need Porro as absolute best for. So, and look, if it does go wrong on this one, you could always bring Porro on. But I think Spence needs an opportunity, and I think that I agree with you. There's probably no better opportunity than Thursday, and Porro's poor form is probably a good enough excuse to do that.
And there could be similar arguments. I don't think he's been as bad, but he hasn't been great in Destiny Udogie out on the left-hand side as well. Is there a case to maybe stick Archie Gray there, or do we persist with Udogie and just never give him a rest?
Well, he didn't play against Roma, did he?
Udogie?
Yeah, Gray played left back.
Yeah, that's true.
So he had a bit of a rest there, obviously. So I think he should be all right. But then again, the question is, we're playing 2 games in 3 days again: Thursday, Sunday. So
this position is so taxing in our system.
That's the thing, and we've left ourselves short. That's absolutely right. I think Gray. I mean, yeah, again, the same with Gray. I think he should also probably be starting game. You can even say with our midfield, obviously Bentancur's out for the foreseeable. So it's a lot of pressure at the moment for Basuma, Sarr, Maddison to keep playing. It's depending on where we're going to find Decky. But again, Decky might have to play more games on the wing because we've got a lack of options on the wing because they've got injuries there as well. So it's all about... Ange has to find a real balance between... managing the squad, but also putting out a squad he believes can win the game. And it's going to be a very difficult job doing that over the next few weeks with the amount of injuries we have. For example, on tomorrow, what do we do with Decky? We know that Son and Johnson have started the last 2 games, right? Against Roma and against Fulham. They've both started the last 2 games. Son, I think, 70 minutes against Roma, 90 minutes against Fulham. Brennan, I think, what was it, 60 against Roma or 70 against Roma? And then against Fulham, it was, I think he went off at some point.
Yeah, Brennan got 70 minutes, 68 minutes against Roma.
60 and 70.
Yeah.
So...
But then didn't start against Man City the game before.
Didn't start. So what does he do? Does he rest Brennan and Son for this one and put Decky and Werner in and maybe save Son and Brennan for the weekend and have them on the bench here? But then that means playing Maddison, Sarr, and Basuma again, and potentially, that means playing them again after playing on Sunday. Does he put Decky in the middle? Maybe rest Maddison for potentially for Sunday. Have Decky on the right on Sunday, and play Johnson on this one and Son here, and have them. But then if you play Johnson and Son, are they going to be fresh enough to play this game and on Sunday as well? It's a lot of different questions.
The way I play it for this game, I put Decky in the middle, drop Maddison to the bench, Decky, Sarr and Basuma with Brennan on the right, and then for Chelsea I'll probably drop
Son. So Son starts all games?
Son starts both games, yeah, but you could always take him off early as well. I start Son both games. Potentially even, I do start Son both games, but I take off Brennan and I start Kulusevski on the right against Chelsea and bring Maddison into the midfield against Chelsea. I feel like that Chelsea game's a real game for Maddison.
Yeah.
I feel like, he'll really try and step it up in that game. So
that's what I would do. That's why, in a way, I might put Son on the bench for this game. I might do Werner. But then I don't want... Well, Werner, Solanke and Johnson. It's difficult. I feel like if we do Werner, though, we don't have enough in that front line without Son. If we're not going to play Decky in the front line, that is. So it's difficult. Also, Sarr and Basuma are just going to have to...
You look at that link-up play between Brennan and Timo on the weekend. It was a great goal.
It was a great goal. Maybe it'll be all right for one game. Maybe we can do Timo and Brennan with Solanke, with Decky, Sarr and Basuma. Is there enough? But I guess
I think Son can start both games anyway.
It means Son and Maddison are off on the bench, so I guess we do have options to change it if need be.
I think we can start Son on both games and then don't start Son at Rangers and give him the rest then. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I know, but the problem is, I just think if he starts this game, he's going to have to come off on 70 minutes or 65 minutes.
That's fine. That's fine. But even so, even if he plays 90 minutes in the space of a week and then doesn't play a minute against Rangers and then he's fully rested for Southampton.
But clearly we're managing him, and also he has since he's come since he's come back from injury. I know he played 90 on the weekend, but again, exactly, he played 90 on the weekend. He got 70 minutes against Roma. He came off. So we've got him, Timo, Brennan and Decky as our winger options at the moment. He said in his press conference, we are definitely going to have to rotate the wing options because we have to be careful with them because we don't want them to get injuries because they're the only ones we have at the moment. So on that basis, is he going to rest them on Thursday? Is he going to play Werner and Johnson instead of Son? Because we need a fresh Son on Sunday? It's a question marks. But again, you can't look too far ahead then as well because we need to win this game. So I would like to see Son play. I've got a feeling he might rest him though. He might put him on the bench.
I don't think he will. I think it'll be Son, Johnson in this game and then Son and Kulu against Chelsea. That's what I think it will be. And then you look forward to the Rangers game. I think it will probably be Timo and Brennan.
Is there any chance he goes a bit more attacking, goes Decky and Maddison and gives Sarr a rest?
Maybe against Rangers, but not in these two games. I think we need Sarr. I think we need those legs in midfield, particularly with how aggressive they are in midfield. I think we need that double pivot of Basuma and Sarr. And that's the problem with Bentancur being out, right? These midfielders are going to be overloaded and overworked over this period. The only game...
Could Gray get a chance at midfield?
I mean, I'd love to see it. But also ahead of Sarr or Basuma, one of them, because they're just going to get overworked. We can't persist with Basuma every single game. He's going to be asked to play now every single game apart from the Rangers game, building up to Boxing Day. How many games is that? That's the Chelsea game, Bournemouth game, Southampton, Manchester United, Liverpool, and then Bentancur will be back for the Forest game. So that's 5 games in the space of 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Surely he can't do that.
Doesn't sound too much when you say it like that.
Yeah, well, it is though. It's a lot, particularly the way we play.
Yeah. And I just can't see an opportunity to rest him too much unless we, hope in some games when we're ahead by a couple of goals, maybe you can take him off early. But
I think Archie is going to have to play a part in midfield. He's going to have to.
He was talking about between them. He was asked, between them, Jed, Archie, Bergvall have only played 116 minutes in the Premier League. Are those three ready to play at that level? He said, "You're missing a big bit there, mate. How much has Archie played in midweek games? He's started Carabao Cup. He started every Europa game, so he's played. He is part of this team. I think he is separate from Lucas, but we've used Archie as an 8, and I don't know how many as an 8, and I don't know how many of the top sides are using 18-year-olds regularly. I think for where Archie is at, we've certainly utilised him in many different areas, and he's done fantastically well. I think with Lucas and Jed are in a different position. With Lucas, again, we need to make sure we allow him to develop without putting him in before we think he's ready, particularly in Premier League football. I think that's where the Europa League has been good for us, because it's a different level of football in terms of intensity and tempo. Lucas is working his way through that, and has had a couple of cameos in the Premier League as well. And like I said with Jed, it's kind of a different scenario. From us, obviously, we can't lose sight of the fact that they are still 18, and if people can show me evidence of 18-year-olds playing regularly, apart from some exceptions, there is a reason for that, because you want to allow them to grow into it. I've used Archie every time we've needed him, and he'll definitely play significant game time for us this year for sure.
Yeah, and this significant game time has probably got to come over this period as well, because of our lack of numbers and because of the games, how often they're coming from now until the end of the year, or even going into the new year as well. So I fully expect Gray to play quite a few minutes in this period in the Premier League as well. I'm looking at Bergvall. I think that he probably might get more game time than he has been getting in the Premier League. But when I try and look at these two players and compare them for how they've done for Spurs so far, I kind of feel that Gray is a bit more ready than Bergvall at the moment.
Or he's been playing Championship. He's much more ready at this level for sure.
Yeah.
I think that should have been expected at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Bergvall coming from Sweden, it was never going to be in an instant. I mean, it could have been, but that would have been a miracle. Like, it was, the expectation was always going to be it'll take a few months just to settle in and get. And even I think for me personally, apart from the Galatasaray game, even given that, I think he's done pretty well for the circumstances. I think I've been quite impressed with him, how he has actually settled in. I think I've seen 18-year-olds be a lot worse than him, to be honest, at this level. There are some Europa League games where he's been really, really good. So I think he's done pretty well. It's not been, he's not taken it by storm, and he's not like got himself straight into the team and been a starter. But he's still 18. I think for an 18-year-old coming from the Swedish league to play at the level he has done immediately has actually been pretty impressive, in my opinion.
If you look at the form of these two teams, very similar, I guess. Jekyll and Hyde, up and down. 2 wins for Bournemouth and 2 wins for Spurs in the last 5. Also 2 losses and 1 draw. Exactly the same, just this in a different order. They've also scored 10. We've scored 10. In fact, they've conceded 7 and we've conceded 5. So very similar form coming into it for Bournemouth and Spurs, albeit they are 13th and we're 7th. But you look at our away form with 3 losses and 2 wins, and their home form is exactly the same with 3 losses, with 2 losses, and I guess they've had 1 less and we've had 1 more. But a very strong home team against an away side who are not the best on the road, to put it, quite frank. Albeit in our last away game, we probably had our best away performance and result in the Premier League era.
We're good in Manchester.
We're good in Manchester, but on the south coast,
yeah, not so good.
Albeit we've won our last 2 games at Bournemouth, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
And if you bring up the head-to-head,
last year we won 2-0, but then again that was in, I think it was like 2nd game of the season or 3rd game, and it was very early in Iraola's tenure, and it was at a point where he was struggling, to be honest, and we took advantage of that. And obviously it was also very early in Ange's tenure, but obviously Iraola was on the brink of the sack at that point. If you cast your mind back to the game at the Tottenham Stadium, we beat them 3-1. That was a game where I think a lot of people would fairly say that the result didn't reflect the scoreline. If you remember, like, Bournemouth had a lot of that game, and we got hit them with 2 early goals, and they dominated for large parts of that game, and they got a goal back, and then we killed it off late on with Sonny. But that game could have easily gone a different direction. I think Vicario had to make a brilliant save late in the game. I remember tipping one onto the bar, I think. So they showed in that game how good they can be under Iraola. So I think that was it. I think that's been evident. And we know at the Vitality, they're a very, very good side. Look, not unbeatable, but as look, the results speak for themselves. They've beaten City, beaten Arsenal. They got a draw against Newcastle. They did lose to Brighton, but again, that was a game where Brighton will probably come away with it thinking they got lucky to get the win. Beating Southampton 3-1 as well. So they've had some very, very good results at home, Bournemouth.
Yeah, the last 2 home games, or the last 3 home games, they've played Brighton, Man City, Arsenal, and now welcoming Spurs. So like 4 of the biggest sides in the Premier League. And, you know, they've beaten Arsenal, they've beaten Man City, narrowly lost to Brighton, where they probably deserved more out of that game.
Narrowly lost to Chelsea as well, where they missed a penalty.
Definitely deserved more out of that game as well.
Everton also missed that penalty, yeah.
When the top 6, top 7 come to town for Bournemouth, they do raise their game, and they are a really hard team to beat, really aggressive. And Spurs are going to have to be on their A game to get anything out of this game, and we need to be we need to show the biggest amount of aggression that we've probably showed since, I know the Man City game wasn't that long ago, but the aggression levels against Roma and the aggression levels against Fulham, if we show similar, then we'll lose this game.
For sure. And if we're, again, similar to Fulham, if you're off your game intensity-wise, then Brighton are very much a team that are primed to take advantage of that, 100%. And they've got quality in the forward line. They've got aggressive defenders as well. I think the biggest weakness I would probably say is at right back. Adam Smith plays there. He doesn't actually get, former Tottenham boy.
He's their captain as well.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a terrible player, but when I look at weaknesses, definitely he's the one I'd look at. But he doesn't get he doesn't venture as far forward as COYS does. He kind of is tasked with staying a bit back and being a bit more pragmatic. But if I'm looking at where we can really hurt them, I think we would probably be best focusing a lot of our attacks down that left-hand side and try and getting at him, because he's definitely an area where and also, as I say, COYS is not the most defensively at this point of his career. I think he's like 20 years old. He's a very exuberant defender, but he loves to get forward. He's not one of these defenders who's always the best at marking at the back post. So if we can attack down their right, our left, getting those crosses to the back post to Brennan, I think that could be a really good avenue to attack them.
Yeah.
And as well, in the middle, as much as they're very aggressive in the central midfield, I think technically they're not like one of the top midfielders. Like Christie and Adams are good, very physical players, but if we can be very physical against them in the middle, we can hopefully create some not overloads, transitions from the middle of the park, and then spring on them in that way. We know we like to be very aggressive. With Decky and Solanke, we can up our pressing to a different level than it was against Fulham. And if we do that and we can press their central midfield, I think overturns in the middle could also be a very much an avenue where we can get at them. Because technically in the middle we're stronger than them. I think physically, you know, you could argue with Christie there and Adams that they're very good physically. But I think technically if we can up our pressing, we can maybe get the better of that centre.
Say that, but if we go into a middle three with Pape, Biss and Kulusevski, I mean, that is very physical.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're worse physically. I'm saying physical, they're also good. That's their strength.
Yeah.
Their strength is in technicality.
Yeah.
So if we can force overturns and quickly play through them, that's what Brighton did for their opening goal. Winner won it in the middle, and then very quick interchanges between Rutter and João Pedro, and they ended up getting the goal. And also with the goal, if I remember the Brighton goal, João Pedro played a beautiful through ball in behind Adam Smith, and Matoma was in behind. That's the kind of run we need Sonny to make if he's going to start. Yeah,
and I feel like we need to start this game at really fast paced. Start this game really fast paced. Go at them from the first minute. Try get that early goal, and if we can't get that early goal, we can keep going. Maybe, because if we can get an early goal, force them to come out a little bit more. We can try kill this game, and if we do kill this game, get one or two in the in the first half, then maybe we can start taking off people. But if we let Bournemouth really get on top of us, this could be a long afternoon, man.
Mm-hmm.
Really long afternoon.
It's one of those games where you might know from the first 10 minutes how this game is going to go. You know what I mean?
I kind of feel like every game's like that with Spurs at the moment.
Not necessarily, because City was first 10 minutes we were all under the
Yeah,
cosh
that's true.
and-
To be honest, the first 10 minutes, whoever starts the best usually loses the game. That's how it usually goes. Because
Yeah.
at Fulham, we started all right in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, we didn't lose.
Pretty much did. But yeah, what is your score prediction?
I said 2-2. Just because I feel like we're so stretched at the moment. The players come back from injury. Are they 100%? I'm not 100% sure. I do think in this game as well, the way that Bournemouth press, our Dragoshin and Davis and Forster as well, when they were playing out the back, we're looking for our build-up play. That's also another reason maybe we might actually need Porro here, because build-up, if we have Spence there...
He's been poor in the build-up, though, last couple of games.
He's still all right in build-up. And we, I don't know if Spence will be able to do that job from build-up, unless we just go long all the time. I think Gray potentially could, so maybe we could play Gray there right back. But I don't know, I feel like the problem is Dragoshin and Davis are just not... I mean, Davis is all right, but Dragoshin's not the best in build-up. Davis is okay, but he's not incredible. Porro is very crucial in that element, especially with Forster in goal, who's not as good a passer as Vicario. We're going to need all the players who we can get who can build up, and actually build up in this game is going to be super, super important, because if we can break Bournemouth's press, that's also a massive avenue we can attack them, because they leave a bit of space when we're building up because they're super aggressive. So if we can manage to find moments to play through them, that's where a lot of space is going to be had. So on that basis, Porro might be really crucial here, but obviously defensively and all, when he's being overloaded, that's a big problem. So but I said 2-2. I still think we've got enough quality to really hurt this Bournemouth team. I think there are going to be avenues down the wing for us, especially their right-hand side. But I feel like the confidence they're going to come into this is going to be high. And I think as well, the way they press, I can see them forcing us into mistakes here, the way we're playing. So I've gone for us to concede a couple of goals.
Yeah, I'm going for a 2-1 loss, unfortunately, which is probably a good omen, to be honest, because every time that me and Sim don't predict Spurs wins, we usually do go and win. So let's hope that does happen tomorrow night. But
Can't double bluff the gods, Ben.
Of course you can. We did it against Man City. We're doing it again today. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 loss. I think they're going to be really aggressive, and I'm not sure if Spurs are going to be able to stand up to the challenge. I feel like we've lacked intensity and we've lacked physicality over the last couple of games, albeit Solanke and Kulusevski have had a bit of a rest, and they are our most intense and physical players, so hopefully they should come into it with a new sense of energy and optimism. Dom Solanke going back to his old club, a stomping ground, which he knows very well as well, so maybe that could provide an element. But yeah, I think we will come unstuck a little bit though, so I'm going to go for 2-1 to Bournemouth. I want to know your predictions in the comment section below. Someone give me some confidence. Someone predict a Spurs win, because we need 3 points here, and if we do get 3 points, it sets us up really nicely. Well, I don't know if it actually does because of our win-loss thing, but if we can get a win here and go into the Chelsea game with a bit of confidence, we need to shorten that gap with Chelsea. And if we do lose here and then pick up a point or a loss against Chelsea, then we are slipping behind majorly.